David Linden.
Indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I say what a real pleasure it is to follow my honourable friend, the member for North East Fife, with whom I congratulate most sincerely on securing this debate. I don't want to hold the Minister back this evening. I know that he too will be keen to rise to his feet, but I will keep him for a little bit yet. But it was only when I was listening to my honourable friend, the member for North East Fife, that provoked me to think a little bit more about the debate that he has secured tonight. And I want to, if you may allow me, Madam Deputy Speaker, to refer to one or two local groups, because I really do believe that when we talk about Scotland's foreign policy footprint, it isn't necessarily in respect of diplomats or those in the Foreign Office in Whitehall, but it is in fact those constituents in our own constituencies who go all the way across the world and make such a valid contribution to our relationship with our friends across the world. And I want to, if I may, refer to some conversations that I had fairly recently with some school pupils in my own constituency of Glasgow East. Firstly, I want to pay tribute to my alma mater, Bannerman High School, where I was visiting only this morning to present them with an early day motion, recognising the immense generosity of the East End of Glasgow. They've been fundraising for the Beatson. But Bannerman High School has a long-standing relationship with Malawi, and that was a point that was raised by my honourable friend, the member for Glasgow North, and I want to touch on that a little bit later on in the course of my remarks. But the other school people I want to mention is a fine young lady, Ciara Cameron, from the Baillieston area of my constituency. My first interaction with Ciara was in respect of a visit that she was undertaking on behalf of her high school, St Ambrose High School, which is actually in the constituency of my honourable friend, the member for Coatbridge, Christen and Bellshill. I think a third of the children in my constituency go to that because it's the local RC high school. But one of the issues that I had was that Ciara's family had contacted me because she had some difficulties with her passport. We managed through the offices of the Immigration Minister to get that ironed out, and she was able to travel to Bangalore, where she came back with a number of suggestions to me. But one of the issues I do want to touch on is this issue of visas, and it's not the issue of visas or migration from people leaving the United Kingdom, but indeed it's the issue of visas for people coming to the United Kingdom. I think specifically in relation to Malawi, I of course I think my first ever debate in this House was in the relationship between Scotland and Malawi, and it was quite fitting that my honourable friend, the member for Glasgow North, raised that, because there is an issue of equality where, frankly, we send lots of our young school students off to Malawi and they can go and do wonderful work, and they often do. But there is an issue about them being able to come here as well. And whilst on the issue of visas, I do want to touch on an issue that I dealt with only last week, and it relates to one of the fine churches in my constituency. There are a great many, but in particular Parkhead Nazarene Church, led by my good friend Pastor Ian Wills, who was hosting an international conference in Glasgow this week, and once again was coming up with this issue where the UK government were denying visas or conducting them in a way that was not fitting. And again, through the good offices of the Immigration Minister, we managed to iron that out. But I guess, Madam Deputy Speaker, my fundamental point is the way that we treat people, particularly when they're coming to this country, sends a message out about what kind of country we are. And I do, if I may, just want to touch on the other issue of... Very happy to give me, honourable friend.
On the point of visas and their importance for building diplomatic relations, is there not couldn't there be any more stark example of the recent example of the Moldovan diplomats who refused visas for this country, and that set back the UK's own negotiations in relation to the WTO?
Absolutely. I very much agree with my honourable friend, for whom I pay tribute for his work as our spokesperson on immigration. I think he, more than anybody in this group, sees the complete shambles that is United Government policy when it comes to migration. I'm sure he sees that on a daily basis, sitting in the Home Affairs Select Committee. And I was, actually, as my honourable friend from North East Fife was speaking, just reflecting on this attitude that we have to others around the world, that welcoming, that embracing spirit, that relationship of equality. And I think that point is made by the fact... Very happy to give way to my honourable friend.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. Isn't one of the most modern examples was the city of Glasgow being the first city in the United Kingdom to award freedom of the city to the late great Nelson Mandela, and that had led to South Africa voting for Glasgow to host the Commonwealth Games and his honourable friend's own constituency?
Absolutely, my friend is absolutely spot on, and I do recall the early day motion that he tabled in relation to Nelson Mandela, who is someone that we and the people of Glasgow hold very close to our heart, and he's right to reference the Commonwealth Games, which was an excellent opportunity for Glasgow and for Scotland to build those relationships with countries around the world. So he's absolutely right to place that on record. I'm very happy to give way to my honourable friend.
Would you also give me another fine example of how the Commonwealth Games was used to influence world politics was through the use of Pride House, and in particular how it managed to bring LGBT athletes and together with politicians and to make the case for equality to countries where perhaps that's still a struggle.
Absolutely, I very much pay tribute to my honourable friend, and I know that the honourable gentleman, the member for West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine, who is no longer in his place, spoke of being led down a rabbit hole, but I do feel that this opportunity would go amiss if I didn't reference some recent correspondence I've had with the government of the Republic of Tanzania, which I had the great privilege of visiting in September 2017, because there has been an issue in Tanzania where the governor of Dar es Salaam has been deploying people off on these what would be called gay hunts, and it was an issue that I've raised both by way of written question to the United Kingdom Government, but also in correspondence. And I was very disappointed, Madam Deputy Speaker, to receive a response from Tanzanian Government only this week saying, whilst they did not necessarily agree with the Governor of Dar es Salaam's comments, they weren't necessarily going to take any action on it. I very much hope that the United Kingdom Government will be able to take action on that. But I don't want to digress too far from the path of Scotland's foreign policy footprint this evening. I want, if I may, Madam Deputy Speaker, to touch on this issue of Brexit, because this morning, whilst out doing my constituency visits, I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr Ibrahim, who runs the USave convenience store in Epton Street in my constituency. And one of the things I was quite struck by, Madam Deputy Speaker, was Mr Ibrahim has been here for 13 years. He runs the local newsagent, but he has only recently qualified also as a solicitor as well. But one of the things he was reflecting to me as I stood and spoke with him in his shop in Tollcross this morning was how welcoming and how embracing Scotland has been as a country. And that was something that he realised when he lived in Pakistan. And he decided that he wanted to come here to the United Kingdom and specifically to Scotland because of that warm embrace and that strong relationship. So I would argue that even though Scotland is not yet an independent country, and it's coming yet for all that, we will be able to forge greater links. And that, I think, leads me rather nicely onto the subject of the former Foreign Secretary, the Right Honourable Gentleman, the member for Uxbridge and South Ruislip, because last week as I was travelling home in the sleeper train, I had I was going to say great fortune, but misfortune, of watching the recent BBC documentary Inside the Foreign Office. And I've got to say the Right Honourable Gentleman, the member for Uxbridge and South Ruislip, did not, during the course of his travels, come across as being the kind of gentleman that we want to send, whether it's from Scotland or indeed from the United Kingdom, to be building foreign affairs and relationships around the world. And I think that it's probably right that he is no longer in this position. But the thing that angers me, Madam Deputy Speaker, is the fact that the Right Honourable Gentleman, the former Foreign Secretary, didn't resign as a result of his deeply distasteful remarks about SUT, saying that it could be the new Dubai if they cleared the dead bodies away. He was allowed, quite frankly, to get away with that. That is the kind of person that we have had out there speaking on behalf of the United Kingdom and building relationships, and I think that reflects very badly indeed on Her Majesty's Government. I want to just turn, finally, if I may, to the issue of Brexit, because we know that there are severe challenges coming down the track. It has not been helped by the way that Her Majesty's Government has pursued its negotiations in terms of Brexit. So I would just conclude, Madam Deputy Speaker, because I think one or two colleagues might wish to follow me, but I would just conclude by saying that we don't know what the next couple of weeks holds in terms of Brexit. But mark my words, as someone who came off a plane only about 2 hours ago, having spent the day in my constituency, it's absolutely crystal clear out there that the people in Scotland realise that the only way for Scotland to have a proper relationship, an equal relationship, is to rejoin the family of nations. Yeah.